Hello! Today's video is going to be about a place that I enjoy visiting, which is USJ, Universal Studios Japan. So for those of you who don't know, I live in Osaka, like about an hour away from the park. I go there like a lot. And since I've been there so many times, I feel like I know the park inside out. But I think if you're going there for the first time and you're only going once, you really want to make the most out of your day, and I thought maybe I can just give some tips on how to make the most out of your day at Universal Studios Japan. First of all, Universal Studios Japan is pretty similar to the one in Orlando. I went to the one in Orlando once. The differences I noticed between overseas Universal Studios and the Universal Studios here is that in Japan, people dress up. They dress up like a lot more. In Universal Studios in America, same with Disneyland for example, like overseas, some people might be wearing like Mickey ears and Minnie ears and stuff like that, but in Japan, people really go all out, and I really appreciate that. I'm saying this so that, you know, if you feel like dressing up, go for it, especially if you're going in a group. A lot of people in Japan, when they go to a theme park, they will dress up as a group. There will be just like a horde of minions walking past you, and then like a group of Slytherins. I would say like 70% of the people there are like dressed up. It's so fun. So if you want to dress up, do it. The second difference, I don't really know how to say this. The staff at USJ is exceptionally nice. And I'm not saying that the staff in overseas parks are bad, like that's totally not what I'm saying. I'm just saying that the staff are just so willing to help you, and they are so happy and bright. Maybe some people won't like it, but I think it's really nice. Like when you're walking down the street, there will be a cast member with like a hand puppet and they'll be waving at you. You know, tiny stuff like that is really nice. Also, they are very, very helpful. If you have a question, any question, just go up to them and ask them. Maybe they speak English, maybe they don't. It doesn't really matter, like they will do whatever it takes to help you. Also, if you're dressed up, you're going to get so many compliments from the cast members. Like every cast member you meet is gonna be like, oh, cool hat, oh, cool t-shirt, oh, you're dressed up like a Hufflepuff, haha. Yeah, I just wanted to mention that. The third difference is more a rumor that I kind of want to diffuse. I think the rumor about Japanese theme parks is that the lines are very long, and in a way, I guess they are longer maybe than other countries, but not if you do it well. You just have to be smart about when to go on which rides. For example, when I go to USJ, I usually don't wait more than 30 or 40 minutes for any ride, unless it's like a completely new ride that everybody's going to. But like other than that, even the Harry Potter ride, like I can go on that in 10 minutes because I know when to go on it, you know what I mean? So don't worry about the waiting lines being too long. You just have to sort of be a little smart about it. If you want to know how to avoid long waiting lines, I will talk about that a little bit later in the video. So now let's move into some tips I have for if you are planning to go to USJ. Number one, bring your own food. I think this goes for any theme park, but the food in USJ is so expensive. It's more expensive than Universal Studios Orlando. I remember eating at the Three Broomsticks in Orlando and it being expensive, but not that expensive. In Japan, like the cheapest meal you can get there is like 25 bucks, and it's like you don't get a lot of food. It's like it's really expensive. So if you're going to plan to eat there, bring a lot of money. Also, the snacks as well are very expensive. When you go into the park, you will smell a delicious caramel popcorn smell. It's the best smell in the world. I just want to warn you, the smell is better than the taste. Like the popcorn's fine, but like they lure you in with the smell and it makes you want to buy the popcorn. That's really expensive. But the popcorn itself is really standard, like it's not that special. So I just want to warn you for that. It just smells so good. But yeah, I recommend just buying your snacks outside the park. If you're going by train, when you get out of the train station, you will find some convenience stores. You can go there, although they will be crowded. So the best thing you can do is just really grab your snacks beforehand in some other kind of convenience store, or just make your own snacks, and then you don't have to spend the extra money. Now let's talk about those waiting lines. First of all, I think this is pretty obvious. Use the single rider lanes. They are there for a reason. They really do help. And even if you're in a group, a lot of the times when you're on the ride, you don't really talk talk to people. So here's a list of the rides that have single rider. There is Jaws. So this one, you're sitting in like a big boat. So if you're in group, it's nicer to be with your group, but even if you use the single riders lane, usually a couple people of your group will sit together. So I do recommend the single riders lane. Second one is Space Fantasy, for which the single riders lane is often really short. The Amazing Adventures of Spider-Man. This one I always do single riders because the difference is so huge and you don't really need to talk to anybody during the ride. Hollywood Dream. This is the big roller coaster in the park and it is my favorite, and I pretty much always do single rider in this one as well. And Harry Potter and the Forbidden Journey, this one as well, single rider works like a charm. You will pass the whole line. It's great because a lot of people that go into this ride are families and they stick together, so single rider really works here. Flying Dinosaur, this one is one of the newer rides, so it's still really quite popular, so the single riders line is often the better choice. Although with this one, I have had times where the single rider and the regular line are about the same time, which I don't really know how that happened, but if you're not sure, just ask the staff. And last one, Jurassic Park the ride. This one is also in a big boat. I do think it's nicer if you're sitting next to people you know, because the beginning is quite slow and it's fun to talk to people while you're on the ride. So whether it's worth it to do the single rider, I don't know. I sometimes do it and often I still sit with the people of my group. You kind of have to be lucky with it. So Jaws and Jurassic Park are like big boat type rides, so it might be more fun to be with your group instead of the single riders. But other than that, I really do recommend the single riders. They really work. My second tip is to think a little bit about when to do which rides. The rides that are really popular right now, this might be different in a few years, but right now there is the Minions ride, which is a new ride, and you have the Flying Dinosaur. So if you want to do those two, you're gonna have to think about when to do them. For example, the Minions ride is more like a kids ride, like a lot of kids want to ride it. So the best thing you can do is wait until nighttime and ride it then, because a lot of children will already be going home. The Flying Dinosaur, I think, would be better in the morning. Make it like the first thing you do. Obviously around noon is going to be the busiest, like from 12 to 4 is going to be very busy. So that time you're going to want to spend on rides that are not as popular. For example, Jurassic Park, Ollivanders, Space Fantasy, Waterworld, Backdraft. Another thing I recommend is going to shows, because the waiting lines for the shows don't get longer. It's like a set time, like every half hour there will be a show. So if you're planning to see one of the shows, that's a good time to do them. A show I really like is Waterworld, which is based on the movie Waterworld. It's just like a big action show. It's especially fun in summer because you'll get wet. There's a really fun rock and roll Halloween type show as well that I really like. So yeah, if you generally follow these guidelines, I think you'll be pretty set. Another thing is there are 2 places, I think, in the park where there are big boards where you can see the waiting lines of each attraction. It's good to know where those are. I'll show them somewhere on the screen. Next, you want to have a look at what time of year you're going to USJ in, because there's a lot of seasonal events happening in the park, and those are also really fun. For example, right now it's Halloween time, so they're doing Horror Night. I'm sure they do this overseas as well. It's probably my favorite time of year to go to USJ. For Halloween nights, they change up some of the rides to horror rides, which are actually really freaking scary. Like, they're not like for kids. It's really scary. And also from 6 o'clock, the whole park will just be swarming with zombies, which is so fun. But they do lots of stuff. Like for Christmas, the whole park is beautiful. In summer, there are so many water games they play. Like, they'll sell little water guns and they'll have shows where everybody's just spraying each other. But yeah, just have a look at what time period you are going to USJ in and check what kind of events are being held at that time. Which brings me to the next topic, which is weather. Osaka can have quite extreme weather. If you're going in summer, you are going to melt. Osaka is really hot during summer, like 35, 37 degrees even, and it's very humid as well, so be prepared for that. The park does provide you with some delicious treats. They have frozen fruit and frozen butterbeer, which is great, but still, like, you're gonna be melting. If you're going in summer, I recommend going to the Waterworld show and going on the Jurassic Park ride, because you will get soaking wet in both of those. If you're going in winter, on the other hand, you'll be freezing, really cold. Like, it goes below 0 sometimes, and if you're waiting outside, it can get very cold. So what I recommend in winter is bring heat packs, you know, those little packs. They sell them in most places in Japan during the winter. It's something you crack and then it gets really hot and you can just hold it, or some of them you can even stick on your body to keep warm. Oh, and in winter I recommend going on Backdraft, which is a ride that nobody ever goes on. It's really not popular, it's really old. It's just a fire show basically. And I think it's really impressive. In winter, it really warms you up. Don't go on it in summer though, like you will die of heat. So next, something I think will help a lot of people out is to know the geography of the park. You know, the ways to get to places, because I will admit, USJ is not easy to get around in if you don't know where stuff is. It's very maze-like, and like you will think a road leads to some place, but then it just doesn't. And there's also a lot of shortcuts that a lot of people don't know about. So I have made a little bit of a tour of the whole park. I just show you around the whole park and tell you what everything is, basically. I was gonna insert that video right here, but I'm thinking now that this video is probably already gonna be quite long, so I'm gonna make it a separate video, but I'll put the link down below and I'll put an annotation or something like that somewhere. So if you want to know where everything is, just watch that video and you'll be set. But then before I go, I want to talk about what to do when you are leaving the park. After your day at the park, you will leave through the big doors and you will come out in a big street with lots of shops and restaurants. And this is a nice place to sort of end your day. I often eat my dinner there, and you have a lot of options. Like, there's a McDonald's, a Moss Burger, which is kind of similar to McDonald's. There's a TGI Fridays, there is a Bubba Gump, which is like a Forrest Gump themed restaurant. There's a sushi restaurant, there is ramen, there's udon. Basically, whatever you want, you'll be able to find there, and you'll be paying a lot less than if you were to eat dinner in the park. My personal favorite is Saizeriya. It's like a chain family restaurant. There's probably going to be a line there, but the line moves really quickly, so don't worry if there's like 10 people waiting outside. What I like about Saizeriya is that, well, first of all, it's very cheap and you can stay there as long as you want. In a lot of Japanese restaurants, once you finish your meal, you gotta get up and go. But in Saizeriya, since it's a family restaurant, you can literally just stay there and talk for hours and nobody's gonna tell you to leave. There's pizza and pasta and salads and soups. I believe there's also hamburgers and fries and stuff like that, and even steaks. There are vegan options as well. You just have to ask for them to take the meat out of the pasta. And they've always done that for me. They've never said no. Even if you're not hungry but you're just thirsty, what you can do is go in there and just order the drink bar, which is really cheap. You can go to the drink bar, like there's this huge selection of hot and cold drinks, and you can just sit there and drink with your friends all night. No alcohol though. So yeah, those are my tips on going to USJ. Don't forget to check out my other 2 videos about the park. Yes, I think that's it. Like this video if you liked it, subscribe if you feel like it, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!